What up, my freaks? RuinusInsight here with part 24 of my Total War Warhammer 3 Elspeth von Draken Immortal Empires campaign. So as we saw last time, Balthazar Gelt finally got his debut battle against the Ogre Tide of Greece's Goldtooth, holding back the tide with his relatively decent piles of melee troops while the Ogres were gunned down by the Ironsides, Amethyst, and Regular alike. It was a pretty fun battle, and I do always enjoy fighting the Ogres as an infantry rather than monster-heavy faction, because I love to watch the disparity between armies, or the differences, rather, between armies clashing. Anyway, in terms of what we gotta do this time around, well, we still have a lot to do in this entire area, completely surrounded by enemies, effectively, and we are at war with them. And, of course, there is the Blessed Dread, which are still kind of an issue for us. We're trying to get armies onto the field to deal with them, but it'll take a little bit to both retrofit and to recruit those that we need in order to start pushing these guys back properly. It's also only a matter of time until Grimgor declares war on us. He is no longer at war with anybody, and he is minus 1,000 or so with us. Let's just say he doesn't like us too much, which is likely to mean that unless he declares war on somebody else, he will declare war on us. So we gotta be ready. Anyway, in terms of this particular turn, I don't believe there's much, or at the very least, if there was, I no longer remember it. I don't think we're sieging anybody anywhere, so I'm just gonna end the turn, I guess, and hope for the best. Were you? Oh, right, you were just gonna grab the Nagrar territory. The rest of this looks fine to me. Of course, it all needs to be traded to our Ursinite friends. But, okay, I'm just gonna wait on that. We can trade it next turn or so. Not a big deal, I think. Alright, skip. Hero not moved. Oh, it's just the piles of, engineers. I do have a plan for them, though, so we're going to keep growing the pile until we can get them into an army. Damage building, and the turn. Somebody's moving. Somebody forgot about. Oh, okay. Very slight movement by one of the engineers. Fine. Oh, two of the engineers. Okay, game. Okay, fair enough. All right. Let's see if anybody... Aha! There is another army here, and you will attack Knobbly Gorge. If you keep it, however, you'll die, because there are two armies near you. We're not going to bother fighting this, and that's why we didn't invest in the territory. And now you're stuck here. And there are two armies close to you. This does mean I think it canceled the recruitment of one of the armies, but not the other, so we should be okay. Court of Libaras, you do want that defensive alliance that you wanted earlier. The issue there is that we don't know that you're actually going to win your war against Thorek, and until we figure that out, I'm going to say no to that alliance. And let's continue. There it is. Grimgor's Ard boys will in fact attack Correct Kadrin rather than us directly, which is good for... I mean, it's not really good for anybody, or bad for anybody. It's normal. Enter warped. And then Grimgor will, of course, immediately attack Uskalak, which is unsurprising, but a bit unfortunate, as I was hoping to trade this to the Masters of Innovation on resolve. Alright, he'll take that. I take it he's not at war with Boris, though, so we don't have to deal with him directly, at least not at the current time. He's not actually near any of our territories. Yeah, I wanted to trade Uskalek to these guys after potentially taking the Monolith of Bubonicus, which we can do, but we can't trade it now unless we send this army back southward. We can't do that because they're gonna be needed out here. Well, what can you do? What can you do? Except possibly send another army down here, and ooh, Grimgor's armies are going to start moving throughout the Darklands. We may actually need to send an army to reinforce up here as well. Certainly going to be interesting, if nothing else. Anyway, technology research, Sword of Cain, claimed, Light College Acolyte, great. Let's take the Monolith of Bubonicus with a quick little auto-resolve. I don't imagine, yeah, since this guy ran. Auto-resolve, little to no damage, and I guess loot knocked by. Alright. More likely than not, this army will pick up the plague, and it's one of the, well, it's not the most annoying plague. The campaign movement range reduction is unfortunate, but we can deal with it. It's much better than the attrition plague, which completely screws you over, so we'll take it, at least for now. I really just wanted to get the Pillar of Skulls back to Boris's faction. Huh. I suppose what we could do is create a sort of Masters of Innovation enclave out here if he's willing to give up the Pillar of Skulls for this, but I definitely feel like he would have done so for Huskalak. But anyway, for now, let's keep going. Elspeth von Draken, your turn is next, oh. You're going to have to manual fight at Shyama's arrest, ain't ya? Yeah, can't have these guys getting ripped apart by the auto-resolve. Alright, fine. I don't know why it started affecting Elspeth's army lately. It's weird. It's very strange that the auto-resolve started doing this, because Elspeth's army used to auto-resolve just fine. It wasn't killing off the Hellblaster volley guns. Granted, I wasn't going to keep them in this army, so I don't care that much about them, but it's still odd. Oh well. Also, unfortunately, we did not reach the engagement threshold this time around, so we'll be doing a standard episode length, or to the degree that I can make it, a standard episode length, as I've never been, as I've mentioned before, particularly good at that sort of thing, but what can you do? Yeah, the offer still stands at 250 likes and 40 comments, so we could, in theory, get back on track, but we shall have to wait and see. We also don't have much time, so let's try to hurry on and do what we need to do. Alright, Elspeth, does anybody need to move forward? I guess you guys, because of the hill, we might have a difficult time firing with our guns, but, well, set yourselves up like so, and let's make you guys group 2. Group up, let's make you guys start deployment, make you guys group 3. Okay, we don't want to get directly fired upon by these guys, so you guys can wait. Maybe move out like this. Alright, that sounds good. Alright, start battle, go, and go. Elspeth, go for Fate of Biuna. Alright, that unit should be pretty much done for. Just don't get hit by anybody else. Don't even bother with the Fate of Biuna then. Alright, let's do Purple Son of Zuraeus right here, and let our range units do most of the work. Guns, you can start moving forward. We got probably 60 seconds before the enemy starts dropping their, whatchamacallums. Black Arc support abilities, Kane's Cauldron, whatever. I never remember their names, to be perfectly frank. And I'm gonna speed this up just in a few seconds. Alright, you guys can now move forward. The enemy range units are done. He's pretty much done, so try not to get hit by our own artillery. And we just need everybody else to rout. Come on, rout before we are... there's the Black Arc support coming. Oh, wow, that actually hurt our landship quite a bit. I was not expecting that, I gotta say. And look at that. One of the great cannons. But that should be it for this battle, so we're good. Alright. It would have been a lot worse if we had auto-resolved it. Let's be real here. It would have taken off like 80% of the HP of the landships and brought us back down to like 1 of the Hellblasters once again. I guess I should have done that a little bit quicker. All good. We are going to occupy. We do want to build a special building here, but we also want to get rid of everything else, so let's start on that. Featherfoe, Torque, Servant, neither one is of any kind of matter to us. Nongchang, also very sparsely defended. I also have this Black Arc sort of floating around, and Jiao chasing it around. I wonder if he'll land at Bamboo Crossing. I wouldn't say no to it if he did. Anyway, let's get everybody moving, shall we? You, sir. You're 19 out of 20, so you can recruit 1 more troop. Let's move you down to the edge of this territory, and we will hope that you can actually hit Fu Heng next turn. Now, you can recruit 2 things here, so we should probably make use of, I don't know, get you a couple of Hawkland long rifles. Do I actually want to get rid of the war wagons in favor of more of these guys? We want more of a sort of concentrated line, I think. Let's get rid of 1 of the war wagons and get to... You know what, in this particular situation, I'm going to say 2 more Ironsides. But we'll save the Gardens of Morr and the other thing for now. You, sir. Alright, so we need to delete this little army here, which I'm going to hope that you two can do together. Huh. Although, it might actually not be possible. Alright, what temporary units can we get in here? I don't know if this will work, but we'll give it a shot. Okay, we have enough Emperor's Wraths, I think. We could get some Sutsun's guns, we could get some various cav units. Also, will we have to manually fight this? We might, especially since this is all attrition-y due to the Nurglite corruption, eh? Damn, and we were collecting so much money from this territory. Right, you know, let's give that one in a few minutes, shall we? Alrighty. You are able to still reach Black Fortress. That has to be pretty critical, so we're definitely gonna fight that. I just want to see where we'll be fighting on the map right now before we choose which place to fight at. Land Admiral Zintler, you can continue to proceed to Spite Reach, I guess. While Aldebras moves all the way out to Negrar. Occupy. And yeah, we should probably start trading all of these. I might do that right now, or I might do that later. Between the episodes, maybe. Just to save a little bit on time, a little bit more on time. You can hit the Glacial Gardens. And I guess loot and occupy that, and hello. This guy ran away. Auto-resolve. Basically no damage. Loot and occupy. Don't bother sacking, because I didn't check how much movement you had remaining. Frigid Wasteland is ours, but not for long, I'd wager, as we will be trading all of this. Although... there is the building at Grand. The thing is, it's basically it's a tier 0. What's the likelihood that we actually ever reach this? I mean, if we get growth in all the provinces, it'll counteract the growth reduction. It'll still be a massive construction cost, but I don't know. I'll think about it. There are some nice landmarks in the Dark Elven territories. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. Anyway, Andreas, you're up, sir. Loot the carcass, see if you can get us anything else. You've already gotten us materials at sea, which is more than we could ask. A little bit of extra gold to fund those materials at sea. And then you're headed to Bilbali, wherein we will probably separate some of your troops off. And replace them with a few more troops. Just gotta be careful about which troops we get elsewhere. Helmut Feuerbach. Oh. That Demigryph Knight is hurt. I didn't... Huh? Was that one? Oh, that was the one that got damaged in the fight with Scarbrand. We just couldn't heal. Alright, go here, channel for one more turn, and then you're gonna head out to sea right after. Funnily enough, if we got Defensive Alliance here, we could heal up to full. But once again, we don't know what's happening between these two. I'll keep holding off. It's not that big of a deal. Boris, you are about to fight Carl. You have no enemy in sight. And I guess we're just gonna keep going. Go through or near to Twisted Glade. Is that a skull? Nah, it's just a little rock. I got excited. Alright, Balthazar Gelt. I guess we head you down to Karakrakatan. Yeah, the problem is we have tons of enemies to the north, tons of enemies to the south. So either way, they will probably hit us. I guess if it might be easier to link up here and destroy the ogres. If we could just destroy the Legion of Asgore, this army could move into reinforce, which would be really helpful. Plus, this army is on the way, but it's gonna take a few turns. Even if we can expect them to probably take out the Nurglite forces for us. Nonetheless, I guess Karakrakatan is the only place you can reach, so that's the place you're gonna go for now. And it's part of this sort of territory, I guess. Auto-resolve. Not the strongest army still, mind you. And we will still need to make it into a proper force. It's just that right now it's not super likely. And we need to keep knocking out these damn camps that the AI is just going to keep building. Alright, who's up next? Ulrich Puttkamer, yeah, we're going to deal with you in a bit. I'm much more excited about the battle for the Black Fortress, which we'll attack in a second. Also, between the episodes, I did summon a wizard. With the noble trait. I wanted to test out whether he would pay for himself, because 494 upkeep is quite a bit, and they do pay for themselves by raising the income from Altdorf, but only just barely. Basically, they give us an extra like 200 gold or 100 gold or something like that. Not very significant, so I'm not entirely sure whether we'll keep this. Unfortunately, it's only lords that can carry the woodsman that gives us income from buildings, and the tollkeeper, which is also income from buildings, which personally I think is a little bit silly. Those should definitely be applicable to heroes as well, because due to supply lines, it's pretty much always detrimental to keep a lord in a settlement to act as an administrator, which I think is a shame, because we have blue lines and administrative capabilities on lords, but it seems like the devs just don't want you to ever do that. I guess it is total war and not total admin, and, well, if you want that, you can play Crusader Kings, but anyway, where were we gonna go? You, sir. It's time, assuming that we have no levels, which, okay, you can have Shield of Faith, which we don't, at least on the wizards. We're going to assault the Black Fortress. And it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt quite a lot, especially because they have two uses of those Dreadquake batteries. The Hell Cannon will be firing upon our poor flagellants as they scale the walls, and there will be plenty of Infernal Guard and Chaos Dwarfs standing up there. Well, what can you do? Let's give it a shot. Alrighty, here we go. Now, the enemy garrison isn't anything crazy here, nothing to write home about, certainly, but, well, at the same time, we gotta remember that our army is made up of flagellants, and there's gonna be some interesting matchups here. Infernal Guard versus flagellants. Infernal Guard have an insane amount of armor and melee defense, and the flagellants are gonna have an issue with that, but their melee attack is quite low, and our melee attack with these guys is quite high even before additional buffs like the second variation of the drum, giving them an additional 8 melee attack, and then Hammer and Grand Hammer of Sigmar, as well as any other buffs that we get from the mages. So, should be pretty interesting. Anyway, as expected, we are heading towards the walls. We're going to climb up there and we're going to take the city by storm. Now, of course, we do have to worry about the repeated drops of enemy Dreadquakes, as well as that rocket barrage, or I don't remember what it's called, the other ability that the enemy has, both of which will be dangerous to our blobs of units. Now, the first enemy barrage or Dreadquake, whatever this is going to be upon our units of the Knights of the Everlasting Light, and it looks like it's the first Dreadquake. Good, the enemy has wasted this one, as the Knights were able to dodge it, but probably because those were the only units that at the current time were not moving, as there wasn't really any need to do so. We are, okay, let's speed this up a little bit while we start moving up on those walls. There we go. Alright, and it looks like the Infernal Guard have arrived to try to hold back the wall. We're going to try to help them out a little bit by knocking them off the walls with our 2 Empire Captains, and seeing how well our Flagellants can do here. 65 melee attack now, and 49 armor, though we can buff that further as soon as our Wizard is leveled enough, and as soon as these guys are rank 7, we should be able to get them up to around 80 armor, and then try to give them additional ward defense with the Luminarch as well. They'll be pretty tanky once we have them maxed out. I'm quite curious to see what heights we can push the Flagellants to. But anyway, it's time to take these walls. Don't have a lot of armor piercing, but we can probably overcome. And look at those debuffs, incidentally, on the Infernal Guard. They're pretty nice. Their melee attack is down to a mere 21, and due to the debuff stacking that we're doing. And this isn't even all the debuffs, as the Knights of the Everlasting Light still have to move in, which would provide another -8 melee attack. The Infernal Guard's attack would be so low that they would have a difficult time getting through the melee defense of our Flagellants. And look at that, with the Grand Hammer of Sigmar and the Stain of the Dragon Emperor, the melee attack has been pushed to about 97, and up to 100 on the Tattersouls. It's pretty good. Now, it looks like the enemy will actually drop those rocket barrages, or is that another Dreadquake? I'm not sure. Might be another Dreadquake. Oh, that's not good. Okay, that's going to heavily damage one of the units. Well, you know what? At least they dropped it on the side rather than right in the middle of all of this, which sort of works in our favor. Anyway, once again, take the walls by storm. It's going to take some effort here, but I like this particular contest. See how long it takes to work our way through these Infernal Guard, though we do have a little bit of spell support coming in the form of Searing Dooms. We are trying to break our way through the gate as well, and the Zotes are facing off against Dwarf Warriors, Chaos Dwarf Warriors, as well as enemy Bull Renders. Alright. Now the enemy is sort of blobbing up around the gate, but not crazily, and we do have additional units of Infernal Guard Tatters or Flagellants that weren't busy, and thus they're going to help around the gate as well. Now the enemy does have some range support in the form of the Hell Cannon, but we have peeled away both of our units of Empire Captains, and it looks like at least together, and when undefended, they are able to slowly make their way through the HP of that Hell Cannon. Anyway, ooh, looks like another rocket barrage coming down from the enemy, but we're going to have a barrage of metal of our own from that Searing Doom, so a little bit of an exchange there, rather than just the enemy dropping those damn abilities on us. And the Flagellant army being relatively fragile, probably the worst army to encounter all of these various barrage abilities that the Chaos Dwarfs have, but hey, they've been overcoming. These guys are still in pretty okay shape, and that's even without the various, or some of the buffs. They're still getting the Bastion of the Great Cities, but because we haven't broken through the gate, we're not close enough with our heroes to add the auras that we would normally be stacking here. Anyway, looks like the Zotes have made a bloody pile of corpses around the gate with a little bit of help from those Searing Dooms, and more Flagellants are heading off the walls and surrounding the enemy. One has in fact managed to peel itself away to go after these Hobgoblin archers, who were pretty adeptly firing at our units inside the gate. Had to stop these guys as our units were concentrated out there. Now it looks like the Bull Renders have moved in, but fortunately our Empire Captains will hopefully be able to hold them back, even if it takes them a while to actually knock the individual models down. Keep on working through them, Caps. Come on. Alright, well, they're going to be doing that for a while. How are we looking on the wall? Enemy still holds here, but, well, I think this is the second unit of Infernal Guard now, not the first one. I'm pretty sure the first one was sent scurrying. Yeah, there it is. So the Flagellants have overcome the one. Now it's time to overcome the other, and there we go. Our Knights of the Everlasting Light have arrived, bringing down the Infernal Guard's melee attack to a mere 12, which is pretty good. Once again, we're overcoming the weakness of the Flagellants by stacking auras, lowering enemy melee attack in such a way that the low defense of the Flagellants is enough to have them fight on par. Now, against the regular Dwarf Warriors, the Flagellants would absolutely rip them apart, and are doing so here, clearly, but it's the Infernal Guard that we're having, let's say, a little bit more of an issue with. And there's also the fact that since our Lord and heroes are all mounted, we can't get the support from the Warrior Priests, who would normally be dropping soul fires and stuff into this, but we have to content ourselves with Hammers of Sigmar and Shield of Faith instead. Plus, of course, those lovely War Drum buffs. I do love my support units, and I really like the War Drum. The ability to add 24 armor to a pile of units is really helpful for certain lightly armored units. Alright, how are we doing now? These guys are down to 10 melee defense on the Chaos Dwarf Warriors. I believe 12 was on the Infernal Guard, but the Infernal Guard, yeah, 12 on them. And these guys are nearly out. A very bloody fight up on top of this wall, but it does look to be nearly ours. We've also finally made our way through the gate, and both Knights of the Everlasting Light and Zotes stream in to finally help the Flagellants, which have been working inside the city alone, but appropriately so. Once again, they are doom cultists, and don't have a fear of death, just throwing themselves upon the enemy and dragging them down with their bodies. And thus, it's appropriate that they are a type of unit that will take casualties. And man, once again, the fights in the Chaos Dwarf cities are just so fantastically atmospheric. I absolutely love them. Really makes me want a, I don't know, something like Age of Reckoning, but just like an actual, just an RPG, probably not an MMO. Obviously with modern graphics. Alrighty. Especially with some Chaos Dwarf stuff in here. I do still play Vermintide on occasion, but really rarely nowadays. Anyway, looks like the battle is pretty much ours. A few enemy units remain. There's a unit of Chaos Dwarf Warriors running around here, but as soon as this barricade is broken, we'll be able to stream into wherever the enemy is holed up. There's some Hobgoblin archers here that we're firing upon our flagellants, but our Empire captains should... they should be able to slowly work their way through them at the very least, but even if they can't, they'll keep them pinned in place and unable to fire. Knights of the Everlasting Light move in to add their debuff aura and their damage to these Chaos Dwarf Warriors, though there isn't a Warrior Priest close enough to offer the other debuffs. I do believe one is moving in as well. It's a little bit too dark to see what the heck is going on here, other than the glowing lances of the Knights and the glowing weapon of the Warrior Priest, but it looks like the Dwarf Warriors, Chaos Dwarf Warriors, will rout, and that is the last unit that was willing to fight. Very, very nice. An absolutely lovely battle, and you got to love, always, you got to love taking walls by storm rather than via artillery. Alright, there we go. Still managed to take fairly heavy damage from the enemy Dreadquakes and Rocket Barrages, the other ability that the Chaos Dwarfs have, but at the end of the day it wasn't sufficient damage to prevent us from taking the walls and taking their capital, which is lovely. Now we're gonna sack the place for that lovely, lovely 20k, which we can use with our materials at sea. And, hey, a free student. Lovely, and a free Talisman of Endurance. And Seasoned Campaigner for Boris. I certainly think he's earned it now. We can occupy the Black Fortress, heal up for a turn, then continue healing, and then transfer it to our regular dwarf allies. This also should make it a lot more difficult for Drajuat to recover, as that's probably his only no, he has another tower. No, he doesn't. He's just making a lot of money here. Does he have... oh, he has Crookback Mountain. He does have one more tower back there, eh? Well. If both towers should fall... oh, wow, the tower's actually making no money whatsoever, eh? Mount Greyhag and Darkhold. We need to prioritize taking out his ability to make money. Oh, no, Pig Barter is not a tower. Alright, well, not only just make money, but also actually be able to build troops. If he's down to hobgobs, he really won't be able to do much. Anyway, Deconstructor Zintler, still waiting for Jamathius the Scarred. You cannot reach the Circle of Destruction this turn, so we will go into Channeling. We'll move right out here, and then we'll see about the Circle of Destruction afterwards. Also probably increase... okay, wait, we'll spend some money to make sure of this. Alright, you know what? We're gonna have to spend some money now, because I feel like we need to build a couple more... okay, wait. A couple more. You, I think, have everything, don't you? Yeah, a couple more gardens. Primarily for the additional wizard capacity, but in addition to that, the additional capacity for magic for every army. Beckhofen. I don't really care about the tall walls. I only really built them here because there was nothing else to build, and just in case, in the extremely unlikely event, something attacks it, so otherwise we're fine. Once again, we also got to keep in mind that we're very likely to get into a war with the Clan Angrand. They will declare war on us sooner rather than later. So we gotta be prepared for it. And let's see what else we got. Keep building those clothiers. If nothing else, we will still need plenty of cash. Just build this. Just build the walls. Just build them. And just so we don't have to see the little icon there. And yeah, just build 15,000 Temples of Sigmar. Feels appropriate. Eastern Border Princes. Yes to the City Watch. Expensive though it may be, it's never gonna get any cheaper. What? Oh, this is just for the garden, but the garden shouldn't be here. The one at Nuln should be, but the rest should not. Where they currently are, at any rate. Great Hall of Greasus. Probably will get attacked and destroyed by another army or retaken by Greasy, so we're not going to do anything with you. We will, however, build the clothier at Carrick Ziflin. Nobbler Gorge just got taken, so we can ignore you. Village of the Tigerman. What did I want to build here? I think I wanted to build a gunsmith so that we can recruit engineers in this location, because clearly we need them. Arengrad, just build the coaching in. Middenland, Middenheim, yes, let's upgrade you to the next tier. We want that Temple of Ulrich, eventually, some way, someday. It really depends on whether Boris actually is willing to confederate. Shangwu, yeah, let's go for the growth here. The growth is basically non-existent here. In fact, I think we're going to replace the weaving house here with the pasture for additional growth, because otherwise it's going to take 8 million years to upgrade anything there. We will build the engineer's workshop at Griffin Wood, and I think we can hold off on the coaching end, though. Mousillon, we still want to upgrade you. Forest of Gloom, keep building the engineer's workshops. Still building those everywhere. Gisero Gap, that is Fortburg Bray. We can ignore you. Valley of Horns. I mean, it'll be cheap to build a single weaving house, so do it. Oh, your income due to the provincial instability. Just don't. Not for now. Laurelorn. We were going to build this Laurelorn Forest thing, and, well, that hasn't changed. So let's build you, and I guess don't bother collecting the income, at least until you're tier 4, which won't be for absolute ages. Hold off on the rest. Black Fortress, we will be trading you to our allies. Palace of Ruin. Okay, we should probably trade all of this now, or at least as much of it as we can, so that we don't have to keep looking over here and being confused about it all. Or is that just me? And that was it. Alright, we still have a little bit of money remaining, but we need that for recruitment and potentially other things. Let's double check Diplo. Such as it is, we have trade agreement available with Armbrow's expedition. Hey, we can see Bordelot Errand. If we can get an alliance with them, they would make Wolfheart visible. Military alliance with Eataine and Kathik, yeah, sure. But give us money for it.
Understood.
There's more buildings to be built after all, and yeah, sure, Kathik. Lovely. And more military allies. Granted, they'll probably drag us into some wars that we don't necessarily want, but, well, what can you do? Ironbrow's expedition's still no, and damn, Bordelot Errand. Non-aggression back. Who are you fighting right now? You're friendly with the Jade Court. You're an enemy of Clan Pestilence. Yeah, that's fine. How much to trade? Oh, wow, they really game. So, 2.4... minus 2.4, they wouldn't do this for 18,000 gold. Honestly, I feel like it's definitely overtuned the degree to which the AI wants stuff to get agreements going. Like, minus 2 points should not be worth 18,000 gold. I don't care how late in the game it is or how powerful your empire is, it's silly. Especially because, for example, for a trade agreement, which directly values it, it'll take so many turns to pay that back that it's just not worth it, which, once again, makes it silly. But anyway, not a big deal. At the end of the day, they'll become friendlier over time either way. Hans the Scarred and the rest of you engineers, do we have a new one for you? Hawkland Scopes, yes we do, but do we build it here, or do we build it to the south? Also need another Hawkland Scopes engineer, master engineer, but don't have one yet. I mean, I want a Hawkland Scopes guy over there. This is just a temporary army, so, well, sort of, just an auto-resolve army, so it doesn't really matter what we do with it. But Gelp, if we give him a bunch of range units, we'll probably want Hawkland Scopes. On the other hand, I still want to try the thing with this army, so we'll build this one for now here.
Engineer.
The more Hawkland Scopes guys we can get, the better. How many do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, we want like 9, and then a pile of not iron sides, but Hawkland long rifles. I really want to see if we can obliterate Clan Angrand with that. Plus a little bit of help from Elspeth. Anyway, now I think that's most of the moves we have to make in terms of buildings. Now let's do the moves that we have to make in terms of fighting. So, you, Torgolg. Torgolg. You wouldn't run from this army, I expect. I could give them the silver bullets, which they're just outclassed, unfortunately, now. Gunderman's Surefires. Silver bullets. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking right now. I am trying to get the units that wouldn't necessarily go in this army, because this army needs to send some troops away. And those troops thus need to be replaced. I guess we could do Sigmar's Sons. They're going to be useless against the ogres, though. Not a good unit against them. Swords of Ulrich and Nordland Mariners have to be saved. This is for Karl. This is for Gilt. Still River Patrol we don't care about, but we don't have access to any more. Any more, you say? I mean, I guess we could do Knights of Morr, Knights of the Everlasting Light in here. Stubborn Bulls, maybe save for the other army. And Bordermen, there's potential. Don't particularly care before the Noble's Sons, so let's do them. Alright, that's 20 troops. Will you run from this? Let's find out. I'm not going to send in this army, because if they don't run, I would rather fight this. They'll fight. Alright, fantastic. Let's fight it. If we can destroy this army, all the better. Give the Razor Standard to one of the units of Halberds, because they're going to have to hold the line, and away we go. All right, you're gonna stay quiet, buddy? Okay. All right. Well, whatever. Anyway, here we go. Now, I normally don't like to do anything near the edge of the map, but this place has such a lovely little defensive location. It's the best location on the map. Regardless of the fact that there is the edge of the map here, I still really want to make use of this. We've got the rocks on two sides and a hill as well. And this is such a rarity, such a lovely defensive formation. And it's just so fun to set up a nice defense around a position like this, and that I really don't want to let it get away. So we're going to make good use of it. Our halberdiers will block off the entrance, and either way, hopefully most of the enemy will go here and ignore the fact that there is the edge of the map all the way back there anyway. Still, there's still some distance, let's say. So we're going to set up, we're going to try to annoy some of the enemies, specifically the Saber-Tusks with our Pistoliers, who are going to force them into rampage and then just kite them around the map for as long as they can. I was hoping that that would sort of force the enemy to move towards us while we hold our defensive position, and I don't know whether I was correct or not, but the enemy started moving pretty much immediately anyway, so it hardly matters. Now, our Hochland long rifles will have plenty of range to work with up here, and should be able to fire down upon the ogres as they head up. And there we go. Looks like some of the second unit of the enemy Saber-Tusks will be our first target. Though by the looks of it, the enemy will hit us back with an overcast Flock of Doom, and the fragility of those Hochland long rifles means that a single Flock of Doom will do plenty of damage. A third of their HP. Definitely got to be careful about that. And we are in a position up here where the Flocks of Doom, if repeated from the enemy, are going to be pretty darn dangerous. Alright, there we go. Get more volleys from those Hochlanders as the enemy move closer and closer to where we will hold our hill. Looks like some decent units on Ogre Bulls and Iron Guts alike, and we definitely want to damage those Iron Guts before they head into the, actually into the fray. Well, it looks like the Saber-Tusks have looped around, but there's nowhere else to go but up towards this hill. A second Flock of Doom comes down, and that's definitely going to hurt those long rifles. And here come the Ogres. You gotta love these defensive positions. There we go. Just hold back. Okay, my mouse is being wonky if you're wondering why I'm jumping around the camera so much. Something's up with my scroll wheel. It doesn't always work quite right. But anyway, Halberdiers, it's time for you to hold. Bit of a dark map, admittedly, but hopefully that'll be okay. Penumbral Pendulum comes down from one of our wizards, and we have to remember that these were Gelt's wizards, and he had those two special items for them, meaning we have very cheap Penumbral Pendulums accessible to the Grey Wizard via the Grey Wand. Alright, and the ogres are being once again adeptly, I should say, held back by the halberds. So it looks like the Hochlanders are having a difficult time firing. Kind of surprising. Why aren't you able to fire? You are on top of a hill and you should have plenty. Okay, these guys, okay, well the enemy's pushing through this way, but you should be able to fire. A bit odd. We've definitely seen them fire before. Maybe it's the hill causing this? But ogres are tall enough that you should be able to fire over the heads of your units. But I guess it doesn't really matter over much either way, because they're having a very tough day trying to make their way up this hill. It does look like a couple of enemy ogre units also tried to flank us here, but we do have the Knights of the Everlasting Light and another unit of halberdiers to hold them back, and they should be able to do so without a problem. And Aeronon's Thunderbolt comes down. We also have our Noble Sons Abroad Pistoliers units who are firing over the heads of the other units, as they should be. And I moved in to help out. Otherwise, it looks like the battle is pretty much ours. There is a few ogres remaining on the right flank where the enemy tried to push through. Our lord is facing off against the enemy Slaughtermaster, but said Slaughtermaster probably won't have too much of a chance, especially with the halberds whacking away at him. And there we go. With that, it looks like the enemy was held back. The tide of ogres once again fails to breach Imperial lines of, well, at the very least, halberd. I was about to say pike and shot, but we have few enough shot in terms of guns. And, well, we do have halberds. So pike and bolt, let's say, for now, as we primarily have crossbows in this army. Although probably not for long, mind you. Granted, this army will be adjusted. It's just it's just a temporary army full of garbage, smattering of troops. But we'll make something out of it. I think that once again, I'd like to make an army that is very much melee infantry based, because in this particular force we have that cheap Penumbral Pendulum and cheap Comet of Casandor, and I think that'll go nicely with a pile of melee troops. Anyway, a little bit of chasing to do, but off screen. Alright, well that worked out quite nice, and oh wow, 422 schematics, that's surprising. We're definitely gonna take that, but I'm surprised by how many schematics. Why did this what? We only have 2 gun units in this entire army, and frankly, they didn't kill all that many enemies. In fact, they killed quite a lot less than the halberdiers and other stuff, and the damage wasn't crazy high either. But we've gotten less schematics in armies that have nothing but guns. Am I mistaken on how we actually get these? Recovered examples, blah, blah, blah. I thought we got these when gunnery units specifically did stuff. Huh. I'm not complaining, mind you. More sources of schematics are great, considering we need to farm them, but anyway. Salvage munitions. This guy's gonna run, but how far? Will he get away from Bertie Pritzcock? Scribe for Dirk van Sanger. No, you don't need a scribe because you're a hero. Heroes don't need scribes. They need scalds. Alright, anyway. You. Go here. Kill. And, oh, okay, no, this guy can't, he can't actually reach any of this. Anyway, now you're dead. And, hey, a free warrior bane, yes please, and you got schematics as well for, okay, well you actually have some gun units, well, I mean, comparative to the rest of the army in terms of how many units, the ratio of the number of units, take the money. I don't know why I took the money, it really didn't matter what we took. Don't go for the warrior bane as yet, and we have to then probably join these armies together, and get back to recruiting. Although as to how we do it, I will figure it out between the episodes, because we're out of time, folks, and I am going to call the episode here. Next time we continue advancing, I mean, somewhat into Kugas territories, most likely. I would like to leave it to the point that one army can handle this while we wait for the arrival of Helmut Feuerbach's all-Cav force to hit the actual islands here. While then another army will hopefully be able to proceed back up northwards and try to get us out of this surrounded and enemies on all sides situation. Kind of reliving what the Empire is supposed to feel like, which we did feel like at the start, but we've got the entire Empire surrounded by friendlies now, which took a little bit of doing, but I guess a little bit more of that Imperial experience will happen in the dark lands and mountains of Morn and Cathay, at least for now. Anyway, more Elspeth to come, so stay tuned. Don't forget to leave those likes and comments below, especially to Threshold. All glory to the algorithm, and thanks for watching.